Hello everybody, this is the iFun channel here. Over here is the Galaxy S3. This year will mark the 13th anniversary of the S3. And today I'm actually going to review to you guys the Galaxy S3 and see how it actually stacks up in 2025. So let's go! Okay guys, this phone was first unveiled on the 3rd of May 2012 and was first released on the 29th of May 2012 in certain markets, aka 28 European and Middle Eastern markets. Now alongside the 4S and later the 5, as well as the HTC One X and Droid Razr Max, the Galaxy S3 is one of the best phones of 2012. And it actually brought in several new features, most notably the bigger screen. As you guys can see, the Galaxy S3 actually includes a 4.8-inch display, much bigger than that of the 4.3-inch seen on the S2. And the resolution is also much better, with this having a 720p display as compared with the 480p screen found on the S2. There are also some camera updates, better internet and Bluetooth connectivity, as well as S-Voice, which is actually the precursor to Bixby. Now this phone is the best-selling Galaxy S phone of all time, with 80 million units sold through its whole production run. I'm not sure when this phone was actually discontinued, but 80 million units were actually sold, and 20 million units were actually sold in the first 100 days alone. Now this phone originally shipped with Android 4.0.4, which is actually ice cream sandwich, but it could actually be upgraded to a later iteration. Let me tell you guys, if your S3 actually has 1 GB of RAM, which is actually the international variant, then you can only upgrade to 4.3 Jelly Bean. But if your phone was purchased from the US, Canada, or Japan, then your phone has 2 GB of RAM, of which you could actually upgrade all the way to 4.4.2. Let me show you guys. This is actually KitKat here. And if you want even more functionality in today's world, then you could actually upgrade to Android 13 via an unofficial build of LineageOS 20. So if you were to go to more and then about device, you could actually see 4.4.2 over here. KitKat. Now this phone uses the antiquated TouchWiz UI, but as you can see, many design elements are still in the new Galaxy S25. Just take a look at the home screen and you could actually see some uncanny similarities in the layout. Now compare it with an even older Samsung phone and you could actually see the difference. Okay guys, as you guys can see, the home screen is slightly different on the Samsung Stratosphere. I'm not sure if this is an S1 or S2. I've not really studied the phone so thoroughly, and information about this phone is kind of vague, so let's just say the Samsung Stratosphere, as that is a problem with the Galaxy S2 and Galaxy S1, as there are actually several different versions, mainly catered towards a certain carrier such as AT&T, Verizon, Sprint, T-Mobile and stuff. So it is really complicated compared with the S3, where there is one version. Yes, the US version, rather than an AT&T version, the Sprint, T-Mobile, and Verizon. There are actually several different names, and it is very convoluting and a whole mess. And the S3 actually solved it. And over here is the applications bar. As you guys can see, you can actually see the home screen. And here, it's just black. Okay guys, enough with the riff-raff. Over here, I'm actually going to show you guys that the Play Store no longer works. Let me show you guys. As you guys can see, there's actually server error, which means you cannot do anything. Samsung Voice also no longer works.
I can't find a network connection. Please connect and try again.
The native email app also no longer works. I'm not sure, but as you guys can see, authentication actually failed. The weather app no longer works as well. Let me show you guys. I'm just searching in New York City. Would actually show, I'm not really sure, but as you guys can see, connection failed. Google Drive no longer works. Google Maps no longer works, but I'm not sure if the browser version actually works or not. Actually, it would redirect you to the Maps app once again. But yes, as you guys can see, you do have to update your browser. Gmail will take an infinite time to actually load. The YouTube app no longer works. And same with the Yellow Pages app. But Google Now still works. And same with the internet. But I'll show you guys the internet later. And of course, offline apps still work. And I do believe this design does age reasonably well. Because this design actually held on all the way until the J7 in 2018. Before Samsung actually disbanded the J lineup in favor of the M lineup. Now over here is the J3 for more reference. Yes, now I'll show you guys all the ports. Over here is actually the micro USB port. Over here is actually the headphone jack. And over there are actually the volume rockers as well as the power button. And let me show you guys the home button. And if you were to long press, you would actually go to multitasking. Now you would actually press this button on more modern Galaxies. But over here shows you guys the menu. So you could actually change the wallpaper as well as add apps and widgets and stuff. And this is definitely the perennial back button on the Galaxy. And of course you double press the home button to actually activate S voice over here. And of course this phone does have the good old removable battery. Let me show you guys. I'm sorry if the battery is a bit swollen, as you guys can see. But I'm actually going to try to mitigate it by not opening the removable battery. And despite the fact this, as well as its successor the S4 and its predecessor the S2, all have 4G LTE. Unfortunately, due to the fact the S3 does not have VoLTE LTE, nor the predecessor nor the successor, therefore it is still affected by the 3G shutdown, which means in the US at least you can no longer call or text on this phone, nor the S2 nor the S4. So if you're in like some third world country or even Europe and stuff, then you could actually use it, but make sure that your carrier actually supports 2G or 3G, because if you're in the US then you're kind of busted. This phone is just essentially a toy. But why not, let's load the internet, shall we? So I'm actually going to go on Google, of course. And over here it is, definitely the fallback version. And over here is YouTube. Let me show you guys. You can actually see some modernity here, but not really much. I'm actually going to attempt to load YouTube, but I'm not really sure. Because when I tried watching YouTube, it is actually really slow, to be honest. Yes. Unfortunately, YouTube actually took forever, so I would actually call it a fail. Which meant no more speaker tests, but why not? I'm actually going to try apple.com, which does not work. Why not Microsoft.com? Sorry for the typo, but it does not work. Amazon. It does work, yes. As you guys can see, one of the few websites which actually works on the S3. Facebook. It actually kind of fails to work. Why not Harvard.edu? Does not work. MIT.edu. It does not work. CambridgeMass.gov does not work. Boston.gov does not work. And of course Mass.gov. It actually no longer works. And unfortunately, the Samsung browser is the only browser on this phone. I could not download Chrome of any sort. Now going on to the specs, as this phone has a 4.8-inch 720 by 1280 screen with a pixel density of 306 pixels per inch, nearly as good as that of the iPhone's Retina display, just 20 ppi lower. And this phone does have Gorilla Glass 2, and it comes in either 16, 32 or 64 gigs of storage with micro SD expandable storage up to 64 gigs. Now as for the processor, this phone does have two different processors depending on the market. in the US and Canada, you would actually get the Qualcomm Snapdragon S4 dual-core 1.5 GHz ARM Cortex-A9 with an Adreno 225 GPU and 2 gigs of DDR2 RAM, which means the US and Canada variants could actually run Android 4.4.2, but if you're international, then it could only run 4.3. And in the international variant, you actually get the Samsung Exynos 4 Quad 4412 quad-core 1.4 GHz with a Mali 400 MP4 GPU and 1 GB of RAM. Yes, the US and Canada and Japan really get a better version of the Galaxy S3. Now the phone has a 2100 mAh battery, which even though it is a really pitiful number today, it is considered massive in 2012, as the previous S2 only had 1650 mAh, which means this phone battery is a massive upgrade from the previous phone. And it does not stop there, as this phone does have Bluetooth 4.0 and Wi-Fi 802.11 ABGN, as well as USB 2.0 support. A huge upgrade from the S2, which only featured Bluetooth 3.0, as well as 802.11 BGN Wi-Fi and USB 2.0. And last up is actually the camera, because even though the camera is quite pitiful in today's standards, it is extremely decent in 2012 with a single lens 8 megapixel f2.6 camera with autofocus, LED flash, as well as 1080p video recording, and the front facing camera is none worse, as it is actually a 1.9 megapixel, which is actually better than the iPhones, with video recording capability of 720p. So why not, I'll show you guys the camera test. Okay guys, this is actually the 1080p video sample for the S3 over here. Now I'm actually going to go outside, and this is what the outside actually looks like over here. Okay guys, over here is actually the camera test. Yes, I know it is a bit zoomed in, but I'm actually going to go down now to show you guys the dock video sample. Okay guys, over here is the dock video sample. As you guys can see, this is what it looks like. Unfortunately, I cannot really go outside because it is really cold. Okay guys, here is a conclusion. This phone was a decent phone at the time and it aged incredibly well. However, you can't really do much on this phone anymore. I could barely use the internet these days, and the only thing I could really load up is google.com. But nonetheless, I could actually load some first-party apps such as the camera, the calendar, the phone app, as well as several others, but you can't really install anything. And this phone is quite useless, but it is quite nostalgic, to be honest, to see what technology looked like a long time ago. And if you want more functionality, then definitely upgrade to LineageOS. And let me tell you guys, this phone was definitely one of the best phones of 2012, and it was actually regarded as the iPhone killer. This phone has a big screen as well as a decent camera for its time, but the biggest thing which made the S3 better than the S2 is there's actually one unified version for the US. No carrier delineated versions such as the Samsung Epic, Samsung Fascinate, Samsung Captivate, Samsung Vibrant, etc, etc. It is all just one version. And this, yes, the S3. There's actually another version called the S3 Mini, but in reality the S3 Mini is really the smaller version of the S3, and the S3 Neo is the lower cost version of the S3, which was actually released 2 years later in 2014 when the S5 was released. And this phone costed around $200 on a 2-year contract at the time of release. And as for the unlocked versions, I would actually believe between 600 or 700. I'm not too sure. But thank you guys for watching. Please give a big thumbs up, subscribe for more videos, and I'm gonna see you guys soon.